I think the design process started while we were in post-production on Crimson Peak, where Guillermo showed us a sketch of an idea he had for an amphibian man, which was like 2.5 years before we filmed The Shape of Water. Soon thereafter, it gave us a script, and the discussions began. This is, by this point, it was a full 1.5 years before we went to camera. So, I mean, this is what you get with Guillermo, is a sort of this, very thorough exploration of what a creature design could be. And we were involved as digital artists pretty early on as well, where we were speaking with Shane and Mike, and there was discussions of, what could be done with makeup, what could be done in a suit, what could be done digitally. I mean, we're at a point now where visual effects is not a novelty anymore. It's not anything that just to get a result digitally is any kind of an achievement. You have to be absolutely photoreal and integrated in the story. And so what we were able to do on this movie is really harness the best of digital effects with our skills and technology, the best of makeup effects with Shane and Mike Hill, and the best of performance from Doug, who was an amazing interpreter of the role. And it kind of all came together in a unique and magical way.
I came on board probably 6 months prior to going to camera. I was finishing off another show, and we just started building the digital version of the creature, which means we interpreted Mike Hill and Shane Mahan's sculpts and made a completely digital version of the creature, and then we started exploratories. How would his eyes blink? How would he eat? Should he have wrinkles on his forehead when he lifts his eyes? And we worked out the methodology and kind of the personality of the creature before we went to camera, because Guillermo really wants to get as much as humanly possible in the camera when he's shooting. And that gives us more to work with. We have great performance, great lighting. And then we go in and sell the core of the creature, which is really the bulk of what we did for the show, is the eye and facial performance for the creature was completely digital.
Yeah, I mean, in the early stages, Guillermo really told us that this was a film that's in love with love, which is something that you've probably heard him say about this movie before. And right to the point, and I'll let Kevin speak to this, but he really cared about the animation controls that we were generating, and he wanted to make sure that we were A, respectful of Doug's performance, but B, also that he had enough control that he could do any performance digitally at any point. And do you remember when he wanted to literally approve the animation controls?
Yeah. So I specifically remember Guillermo coming by my desk to check the animation facial system that we were using. And he goes, "I know you guys can do anything in CG, but you can't make CG fall in love." And I said to him, "I bet I can." And so that was my driving force through the whole movie, is to prove that we have the capabilities, technically, the sensitivities, acting-wise, that we can make his expressions fall in love with a leading lady.
Really, we had to help create a leading man. Yeah. And here he was in a latex suit on set with limited kind of facial ability. Doug was an amazing interpreter of the role, and we had a nice collaboration with Doug. Mm-hmm. And he acted out some of the moments for us without makeup, and that really informed our process.
Yeah, we actually scanned Doug in a wide range of motion, and we had a Doug Jones animation rig next to the Amphibian Man animation rig. And that was one of the things that helped us keep our performance grounded.
Yeah, that was one of our base level tests that we did, that we wanted to make sure we could, because ultimately it was, the mask was built off of Doug's proportions and everything, so we wanted to make sure that our digital version was doing what his real face could do. Because with the mask, as Dennis said, you have limited range of what you were doing. So we're trying to get his performance to the surface. And so we had to dig down deep as, I call us shy actors because we sit behind the computer, act out what he was thinking on the inside. And for his full body, when I came onto the picture about a month before shooting, and Dennis had mentioned that we need to see some motion studies for him, because when he's underwater, it'll be full CG. So I went and I started to think about different real life water creatures, seals, sea otters, dolphins, Olympic swimmers. And I sort of married all that stuff into a full body performance of how he moved.
It was a very exploratory process, but never was it ever an option to, not be physically correct, not respect the laws of, photography, not be absolutely photoreal. I mean, it was just not an option. Guillermo was not interested in anything at all that would break the suspension of disbelief in an audience. If anything threatened to look digital, it just was not going to work for him. It was storytelling and emotion, and this love story was pivotal, and we couldn't be responsible for breaking that suspension of disbelief. And so the pressure was very great. And to Kevin's point about the research and the studying, I mean, we did look at close-ups of just, movie stars in love moments and their expressions. We studied Doug's face. The script was a great guide, but also Guillermo was a great guide, where he would really kind of perform things for us facially and act things out, and we would mimic those expressions in the animators. And he developed a personal relationship with a lot of our animators.
One of the most difficult motion studies we did actually came towards the end of production. There was a sequence where Eliza rescues the amphibian man and brings him back to her bathtub. And he's suffocating because the salinity in the water isn't enough for him to breathe. And we cut back and forth constantly between entirely digital shots and mostly practical shots within the tub, like this. Close-ups while he's suffocating. And really our biggest challenge in the film was never to affect the audience's suspension of disbelief. And those shots were everything. They were the algae, they were the water, they were the bathtub, they were the entire creature.
The performance, the photo. I mean, those shots kept us up at night.
Yeah.
Because I think we were at a point where I don't think we knew that we could actually pull it off.
I was scared.
Yeah. And that's what you get with Guillermo, is like he pushes you to the edge of your abilities and then asks for more.
Yeah.
And then once you get halfway there, he asks for more again. And he takes you out of your comfort zone. I mean, I think that's why he's such a master filmmaker, as he really gets the most out of an artist, because he has faith, he believes in you and pushes you. And I think at some points he believed in us more than we believed in ourselves. I think is that fair to say?
True, yeah.
Yeah. You might be surprised to know that there was, over 60 minutes of the film was digitally, either enhanced or created, and that there were over 400 artists involved in making of that. At the end of the credits, all of those people, they worked for 40 or 50 weeks. Yeah. And I think that piece sometimes gets overlooked. Mm-hmm.